Hello, I'm PS3 and welcome back to the video. So today I'm going to be talking about Minecraft textures. This seems like a weird subject for a video, but the thing about Minecraft textures is they all are lovingly handcrafted by someone on the Mojang team at some point, and because of this, they generally tend to have, tiny details about them that unless you're paying really close attention, you're probably not going to spot, but that I think are really cool when you do find about them. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about lots of these secret/Easter eggs of these textures, and hopefully you do will enjoy this video, going over several such examples. You can like the video if you do, because it helps out the channel a lot, and lets know you do like these sorts of videos, because I'm back in the creative world again. It's always nice to be here, and I'm going to be starting actually with the very first example, and probably one of my favourite examples, which is the chiseled sandstone. So chiseled sandstone is one of the rarer varieties of sandstone. You have to kind of get stuff together to get here, and it's such an interesting block because both the varieties of chiseled sandstone have a tiny miniature Easter egg hidden within them. So this first one is the fact that chiseled sandstone, again regular, like yellow sandstone I guess we'll call it, chiseled regular sandstone has a little creeper face hidden within it that you can only just about spot here. It's the same as the creeper face in the A of Minecraft, and it's just a tiny little detail, but I do quite like it. And even cooler than that, perhaps, than the creeper face being found here, is the fact that on the red chiseled sandstone, you find the wither. So this is a lot more obvious and it's a lot easier to see, but because there isn't much chiseled red sandstone at all in the game, I don't think there's any, naturally generating, you have to craft it yourself. It means that, when you see this for the first time, you're like, oh, so this is a creeper and this is the way more deadly wither. And I know it's just, it's such a tiny detail you might not ever spot, but it'll make you go, little secret there, and that's why these two are cool little Easter eggs found within the chiseled sandstone blocks. Speaking of little Easter eggs hidden within blocks, one of my favourite unintentional ones, because, both those are intentional little references, but my favourite unintentional one is to do with the doorway. So this is kind of a bug, but it's kind of just how you would, try to make a door in Minecraft, because the door doesn't have an animation, it just switches from one point to the other, right? So as you can see, it shifts 90 degrees, the entire texture, and it means that your door opens and closes, and everything looks entirely fine here, right? Yep, that's how doors work. It opens, it closes around this axis right here, and that's entirely fine, but there's one key thing that happens with a door in real life that doesn't happen with the door in Minecraft, and the moment you see it, you realize that, oh yeah, this door makes no sense at all, and it is the hinges. So if you were going to have hinges on a door, which in this case are found just over here, they'd be attached to a wall or something, so there'd be a wall just over here, and that's how the hinges would work, right? However, the thing about these hinges is they do not change location. So this single pillar of the door does not change location, so I'm going to actually break this right here. This single pillar of the door doesn't change location as the door goes left to right, which means the hinges don't change side either, and it means you're left with this very bizarre thing where the hinges go from the left of the door to the right of the door, or the left of the door to still being on the left, even though they should, theoretically this should be on the right there, because the whole door should swing round, not just this bit. So yeah, the way the door swings in Minecraft is pretty convincing, but the moment you see it, you realize that, oh yeah, that's a bad job on the texture they've done there, and also you can see some of the, like the door hinge stays open just there. There's a few issues with the way this texture works, and I thought it was rather interesting, and maybe you do too. So the other interesting thing about doors in Minecraft, particularly the birch door, is the fact that you'll notice the birch door is kind of like a reverse birchwood plank, because there is, this birchy colour on the outside, and on the inside there is this white kind of colour, which matches the outside of the birch wood, which again, the outside of the birch wood is white, and then the inside is the birch, plank colour, and it's just interesting that the door is a reverse mashup of that. It's the only door where this is the case, and it's something I found rather fascinating. In fact, there's lots of blocks which contain, like references to other textures, or are directly taken from other textures. Let's go through those now. So, just as a fun little, secret fact before we, go down, basically, if you want to ever fall off a building, but you're not sure, how you can get down, those slime blocks are far away. Easy way to do it, stand at the very edge, eat a chorus plant, and there's a chance, obviously not 100% chance, but there is a chance you'll just be knocked out, you'll just like go straight onto the ground, just like this, without any full damage whatsoever. Fun little fact before we move on to the next set of textures, which are all based on other textures. So obviously there is ores. If you look at Netherrack ore, and you look at the, Netherrack, and you look at the Nether quartz ore, you can see that it's the same texture, just this one has some extra things added, and the same is also true for all of the ores, but that's an obvious one. Like, that's there to make it look like, they blend in and stuff. That makes a bunch of sense. Okay, those aren't really issues, but the interesting ones that you might not otherwise spot is the fact that an enchantment table genuinely just uses the texture from obsidian. It's the exact same, like pixel for pixel. They took the obsidian texture, they made it smaller, and then they replaced the top of it, but you can see that otherwise it's entirely the same block. And a similar thing is that the beacon actually uses not only the texture for the, the obsidian, but also the texture for the glass. So, how the beacon crafting recipe uses both obsidian and glass, you can see how they literally end up in the finished product here, and it's one of the very few crafting recipes where that is the case. And I just think it's one of those cool little things like, oh yeah, you can see it's a mini obsidian texture in there. Isn't that wonderful? So yeah, there's also examples of like, oh yeah, well, they took the stone brick texture and they turned it into endstone, and this is one of those interesting examples because it's true for all of these blocks right here, but you'll notice how these blocks aren't symmetrical, even though they're the same on every single side on the outside. So here is a stone brick. As you can see, it's the same every block on the outside. This block up here, the very top face, there is no way to change this. Most blocks in Minecraft now are directional, but no matter how much you want to change the direction of the top of a stone brick, you are literally unable to. If we place it this way or this way, it's still going to be the exact same way because they are set to go that way, and there is nothing you can do about it, which is just a tiny bit interesting. Also, one other thing that's worth noting is, like the brick texture, but not quite as bad, you'll notice how because it's obviously the way they're set up, they don't properly go together, so like this kind of cuts across and then goes nowhere there, so basically there's no division between these things. Basically, if you look at the textures on the side, they kind of contradict each other, but as long as you have lots of them going in a row, you don't have to deal with that. But yeah, for now, you cannot rotate this block, unlike you can with most other texture blocks that have different sides, which is interesting and kind of unique. Also, kind of interesting and unique if you want to confuse people, or like similar blocks, I guess, is this thing right here. So these 4 blocks, you might be able to guess, are not all the same block. In fact, there's 2 of these that are the same, but there is 3 separate blocks here. There is, if I'm not mistaken, the dispenser, the furnace, and the dropper. So a fun fact you might not have known about them is they use the literal same texture, and the only thing they change is very subtle things on the front of them. You might figure like, oh yeah, they're similar looking blocks, but really they change a bit. No, from the back, if you cover the front of these blocks up, so if we place a bit of sand right there is no, and let's place some more blocks on the other side, there is no way at all, I guess we're using gravel today, that's how things have gone, but yeah, as you can see, there is no way at all to distinguish these blocks from each other without going inside them. But even then, if you want to confuse people extra hard, use this to your advantage. A fun little fact you might not have known is that, this is a furnace on the inside, you can tell that, but this is a dropper, and this is a dispenser. The only thing separating them is this label up here. However, this thing right here is called a dispenser too, but it's not actually a dispenser. They both look exactly the same on the inside, but that's because this one right here is actually a dropper with a renamed name tag. So yeah, you can actually, you can let people like not know which stuff you have, whether it's a dispenser or a dropper, just by renaming it, and that's a clever little thing you can do if for some reason you want to trick your friends into believing one thing is another thing. So speaking of textures which are the same, an interesting fact about the oak wood plank textures is the fact that the wood, the texture for the fence, as you can see right here, is not only the copy pasted from the wood, it's actually using the same texture. Like it takes a texture from the same place in code. So if you change the wood texture to be something else, all of the fence textures would change with it. An interesting fact you might not have known right there. And yeah, I don't particularly like the way the wood texture applies to the fence, but it is just, again, copy pasted from that, and that's why that is the case. So if you've ever been curious about the fence texture, that is why that's the case, and that's why there's lots of weird glitches about it when you change textures that you might have run across, you might not have, but that's that. So there's one final cool texture, a little Easter egg thing in my opinion, that might blow your mind a little too hard. So if you've got a heart condition, maybe you should watch out, because it is to do with the sand block. So sand is an interesting block in Minecraft. We can all agree that, like, oh yeah, it drops on stuff and it's better than gravel, so I'm totally down with the idea, right? So the thing about sand that's interesting, besides just being better gravel, is the fact that the texture for the sand is pretty much the same as the texture for your hotbar. You might think, so cat, there's no texture for the hotbar, but if you look really closely at the hotbar, you can see how there's like a subtle texture on there. Oh wait, let's break these blocks too, I guess. There's a really subtle texture on there to kind of make it, not look like it's just entirely transparent. I don't know why that needs to be the case, but I guess, again, it's like, oh yeah, well, if we have some noise there, it makes it look better. But if we look really carefully here, you can see the texture for the sand pretty much lines up with the texture for the, the empty hotbar space. And this is something that was kind of mind-blowing to me, like, wait, why did they do that? And again, you can see, like, okay, here's the slot with the sand in, here's the one without. They look pretty much the same. It's just there's a little transparency in the other one that means it looks like whatever you put behind it. But this means that if we then move to the left, you're like, oh, it is just sand hidden there. And that's something that you might not have known. You might not have known there was a texture for the hotbar, and you especially might not have known that it's pretty much the same as sand. There's a few bits, changed every now and then. Each hotbar has a slightly different texture behind it, but they are all based off sand as far as I can tell, and that's an interesting fact about textures you might not have known, and I hope you did all enjoy this video, going over, like 10 or so facts. I don't know. Lots of Easter eggs for the textures. If you did all enjoy it, you can like the video and let me know, because it helps out the channel, and lets me know you do like this sort of video. Share if you really liked it, and subscribe if you're new around here, because I make videos like this one every single day on my channel, and if you subscribe, you'll see them daily on your homepage. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!